Welcome back to the It's Too Easy podcast. It's Zach and Jake ready for week one of NFL and the next week of college football. So, Jake, what do we want to start with tonight?
Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and start with college. Obviously, first week we had a pretty solid weekend. Parlay didn't hit, which sucks, but SC had a great game, beat LSU, like looked really good, so got to give them props there. But yeah, college was super fun. Week one, obviously, my Ducks looked a little bit back and forth. Sorry about my phone. Um, with their first game, but I really expect them to bounce back this week against Boise State. So let's talk about that first. Ducks obviously go in and back to Eugene again, back at home, play Boise State. I think we have 7 home games this year, which is kind of cool for us. Hopefully that'll give us a little bit of life and allow our fans to keep us in the games. But yeah, we're getting 19.5 against Boise State. We obviously only won by 10 against Idaho. But I thought Idaho was, definitely a little bit better than we were expecting. I thought we kind of played down to their level as well. We didn't really play up to our standards. We did get 31st downs, had a lot of offense, but just couldn't really get the ball in the end zone for whatever reason when we got to the red zone. Turned the ball over quite a few times on fourth down, which I know we like to do, but we got to figure that out and just start being more efficient in the red zone. So, yeah, this week I think we're going to turn around. I do like Oregon minus 19.5.
Yeah, I like it too. I thought that they were going to go out and win by 50 against Idaho. Granted, Idaho's not a scrub team. They're just obviously a little bit different quality. Ashton Jeanty just ran for like 300 yards and six
Yeah.
scores for Boise State. Guy's a stud, and I do think he'll be able to put up a couple scores for Boise State, at least get them some points on the board. But growing pains for Oregon, I think they'll work through them. Obviously, Dylan Gabriel at QB is different. Bucky Irving's gone. Troy Franklin's gone. Bo's gone. So it's just very different for Oregon. I think they're going to work through it. I do think that they're going to be able to cover, probably get back into that 50, 60 point range. Like you said, they moved the ball really well. They just couldn't score. So I think that this week they'll be able to get the ball in the end zone.
Yeah, and I think another thing, just to touch on it real quick before we move on, is just that we didn't really do well in getting the ball down the field. I thought we kind of lacked a lot of speed, so I hope that in practice this week we're able to work on getting the ball down the field over the middle because that's kind of what it felt like we were lacking there. A lot of the big explosive plays, we had the slants and screen passes that would get us like 15 yards when they worked really well, but it didn't feel like we had the big explosive plays over the middle to Tez. It felt like it was a lot of short passes and just trying to get Dylan involved in the game rather than us just running the ball and then opening it up for him down the field, which is much more of what I think Dylan Gabriel wants to do. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for them. I hope that we can kind of implement that a little bit more this week against Boise State. The next game on the slate for us is Texas and Michigan. That is going to be a massive game. We got ranked 3 Texas Longhorns against Michigan, who had a little bit of a shaky start, but they are at home in this game. For us personally, I mean, at least for me, I know we were talking about this. There's not really like a team we'd want to pick because Texas, I think, is like a 7 or 6.5 point favorite in this game. But the 42.5 point line feels a little low. I'm definitely expecting some scoring in that, so I am going to lay the over 42.5.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite play for it as well. The fact that all the money's coming in on Texas scares me, knowing that it's in Michigan for a defending champ team. Obviously, they looked like dog, so I understand why all the money's coming on Texas, who looked very good. And I feel like Texas should win the game, but because I don't like it, I do think the pick for that game is the over.
Yeah, 100%. And then next game we got is Army and FAU. Army is the underdog in this game going into FAU, but we do like them. They looked pretty good in week one, and just gonna take them outright in this game. Talk a little bit more about why you like Army.
Yeah, I mean, I just watched that FAU Michigan State, a little bit of the highlights there, and it was just a terrible game.
Yeah,
Obviously, that Childs quarterback came out saying take the over, and then a 16-10 final. FAU barely scored their touchdown in the fourth quarter to make it 16-10. It was 16-3. I don't think they'll be able to move the ball that well. Obviously, Army is not like a star-studded team. I just think getting plus 160 on the road for a team that runs the football usually pretty well. I kind of like it this week, so I was just going to roll with it.
yeah, right on. I love that. Then we got Duke and Northwestern. Duke is a little bit of an underdog, I believe, as well against Northwestern, who's at home this week. And we do like Duke on the money line. They looked pretty good last season. They don't have Riley Leonard, obviously, but their defense is still pretty solid. So riding with them.
Yeah, and they got Malik Murphy. I think it's Malik Murphy,
True.
but the guy from Texas, the transfer that was behind Arch and Quinn. And he had a good week one. I think he went for 280, two scores and a pick, but they still got the job done.
Yeah.
I think going in to play Northwestern, I do think Duke could play very well. I think their defense is solid.
Yep, right on. And then we got NC State and Tennessee. That's going to be another fun one. I think both of these are ranked teams, and Tennessee, I think, is like 8 or 10. And then NC State's somewhere around 18, 19. But it's going to be a fun one. Expecting NC State to come up and show out. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to pull up to that game. We'll see what happens on Saturday evening. Um, I might have to swing by, but I do think NC State played really well last year at home. I expect the same to be true this year, going out to Carter Finley. I know that I am Oliva is the QB or whatever, however you pronounce it for Tennessee, and everyone thinks so highly of him. Heisman, he's already in the top five
Wow.
expectation. So he is supposedly a great quarterback, and I think they could have a solid year. But I think NC State's a good team at home, a little bit sleeper on the defensive side, and then having Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina from the last 3 or 4 years as a veteran at quarterback. NC State, I think, could pull off an 8 point underdog upset at home.
Yeah, no, and if you don't like the money line, then you get 8 points there, staring at you. So you can always take that. And then Tulane and Kansas State. Obviously, we were a little all over Tulane last week. They looked great in week one. Coming out, they're 10-point dogs going into Kansas. So what are you thinking there?
Yeah, they're at home getting
Oh, they
10
are at
points.
home. Yeah, true.
Yeah, they're getting 10 points at home against Kansas State. I don't think Kansas State's that great. It's the quarterback that was backing up last year for Will Howard. I don't think he's phenomenal. Tulane can't really move the ball that well this year. I do still like their running back Mucky Hughes. I think he's going to go for 150 yards on the ground. I don't think Kansas State can stop it. And so with that, even if they're not able to win the game, which I think they could at home, I think covering 10.5 should be nice.
For sure. And I mean, you could always look at a player prop for running back too for rushing
Hmm.
yards. Might be some decent to look at for this game, although it'll probably be juiced if you had a good week last week. Then Utah and Baylor. Utah's 14-point favorites right now. We're just going to go ahead and lay that. I think Utah's a really good team. Cam Rising's on his like his seventh year, and their
Seventh.
defense
Yep.
is still pretty solid. Obviously they had a few rocky roads last season, but I feel like with their offense being good, they're going to be able to stay off the field a little bit more, and I expect them to be able to cover 14.
Yeah, I definitely think they'll cover. I think they just won like 49-0. I do think
Yeah.
their defense is good again. I don't think Baylor's that great. It does worry me. I think it was a close game last year that Utah had to come back on, but I know that they were playing with quarterback that was a third string that game, and I
Yeah.
think they ended up pulling it off 21-14. I do think they're able to go out there, probably put up at least 35, and I'd be surprised if Baylor put up 21. So I do like that 14.
Yeah, I honestly expect Utah to come out early and put up like 3 scores in the first quarter and just put the pressure on Baylor. And if they can't respond, then it's just going to be over. So we'll see kind of what happens. Then we got Iowa and Iowa State. Man, this game is really early in the season. It's kind of like Oregon and Oregon State next week. But this is going to be an absolute banger. Obviously, Iowa looked a lot better in this opening game. We hit the under 40.5 just barely. It was 40-0. So that was kind of fun. But honestly, gonna take Iowa -2.5 in this one. I just think that they're the better team. Defensively, obviously, they're going to be really good. I'm not liking the 35.5 line. If anything, I kind of do like the under a little bit, but I feel like it's going to be a little bit closer, and there should be enough scoring to maybe keep it the 2017 or something. So maybe 37 points total, but I don't expect it to be. I expect it to go over this time, but I think Iowa -2.5 is the right play.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're taking the under 35.5.
All right.
I think the game could end up being like a 13-10. I think both of these teams suck on offense, and so I expect to see pretty good defense. I think the only way it goes over is if we see a defensive score.
Yeah, it's special teams defense. Got to give it to Iowa though. I really think that their offense looked pretty good in the first week.
They
So if they
they threw
can,
3 touchdowns for the
yeah,
first time in three and a half years. So yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I got to give them their props where it's due. I do think they're going to go out and win this game. Cal and Auburn. Don't really love picking a winner in this game because I think Auburn's like a 13 or 13.5 point favorite, but the over under is juiced up to 53.5, and it just feels like an awful lot for these teams. These teams have played each other a couple times in the past few years, and it feels like it's always like a 13-9 game. So I'm just loving the under 53.5.
Yeah, I'm on the same thing. I don't think either of these teams is that good. Cal struggled to put up 31 on UC Davis. Didn't cover, obviously. Auburn's got a pretty good team this year, so I think Cal's going to be struggling there. I don't know about covering 13 for Auburn, so I do like the under 53.
Yeah, I love that. Then Texas Tech and Wazoo, man, this one's going to be an absolute banger. Wazoo put up 70 against Portland State in the first game, 70-30 in that one, and then Texas Tech I think put up an additional like 55 or 60 points, something like crazy like that. So, anyways, the over under is juiced up to 65 and a half. And I love the over in this. I mean,
Love
70
it.
points.
I
Wazoo
love it.
had 70 by themselves. Their running back had, I think, 4 or 5 scores, and their quarterback threw for another 5. So I just think that no matter what, this game is going to end up going over 65 and a half. Texas Tech is explosive on offense as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely liking the over 65. I'm liking over 70. I'm really liking the over 80.
Woo!
I'm leaning on the over 101.5 because I think the final score could be 54-48, which would hit 100. However, if you want to just take some juice, 81 and a half, if you take the over there, I believe it was at plus 400. And if you take it all the way up to 90, it was plus 900. So definitely interested in that one. I think it's going to be a shootout. Interested to see if Wazoo can pull it off at home. I'm kind of leaning that way, but I'm not loving it.
I
With
am
a
too.
one and a half
I'm
point,
kind of thinking it over 81 and a half or 82 and a half maybe, and then maybe a Wazoo money line parlayed with that for a little same game and see what happens.
yeah, even taking, I think both teams are going to revert to not running the ball, knowing both
Yeah.
those programs. So I think taking both QBs over 300 yards and 4 scores could very well be like a player prop kind of thing for that game. I think it should be a shootout.
Yeah, for sure. And then we got ASU and Mississippi State. Obviously, like I'm huge on ASU. I love Dillingham. He was our offensive coordinator at Oregon, and I loved his schemes. I love the way that he calls plays. I think that he's got ASU on a good trajectory now. He just needs to kind of build a defense there. And in week one, they looked really good. I can't remember who they played. I think it was Colorado State, if I'm not mistaken. But they looked really good. I think they won like 50 something to nothing or something close like that. But Scattaboo is back at running back. Their offense, they have a good freshman quarterback in Sam
Love it.
Levitt, and he looked really good. Yeah, he had like 280 yards and a couple scores. So I just expect that Arizona State's going to cover 6.5. I just think that they're going to be the better team in this game.
Yeah, I don't really know what to expect. I didn't watch that first game. Cam's my guy from Sac State, so I'll be rooting for him.
Yeah.
I think 6.5 is kind of seems like a lot for an Arizona State team that hasn't been good the last couple years. I know they're at home, but I feel like everybody's going to be on them after week one. Mississippi State's not great,
Yeah.
so I'll root for it, but not touch that one.
Right on. And then we got Oregon State and San Diego State. That one's also getting a lot in the over under. It's at 54 and a half right now. I don't really like picking a winner or loser in that game. I just feel like Oregon State right now is maybe getting a little bit too many, but it's too close to really pick anything there. But I love the under 54 and a half in that game as well. I just don't think those offenses, either of them, are really that good. But then again, I really don't know about the defenses. I just expect it to be under 54.
Yeah, I feel like San Diego State's a team that consistently puts up like 13, and if they're going to cover 6, which I'm kind of like, I don't know, I like the line. It seems weird in San
Yeah.
Diego State.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely just thinking it's going to be under.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And then last one, USC and Utah State. Right now, the number is at 63 and a half on the over under. I believe that SC is a 27 and a half or 28-point favorite right now. I'm expecting them to win by right around 4 scores. I love the over 63 and a half. Obviously, they had a little bit of a shootout or, just good close game with LSU. Utah State, on the other hand, I did get a chance to see some of their highlights. They had a couple plays in there that were just crazy good. And if they can kind of keep some of that offensive explosion that they had in the first game, then I expect that they'll be able to kind of keep up with USC. But I expect in the end that, 3-4 touchdowns, they should be able to handle them.
Yeah, I was surprised by USC last week. Obviously, that was their eighth straight win in week one or ninth, maybe, and
Yeah.
LSU's fifth straight loss in week one. Um, so, yeah,
Yeah.
sick. It was cool to see Miller Moss out there dicing it. There was no turnovers in that game, which I thought was fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I think going into that, it was like the two number one offenses and also like two of the top 10 worst defenses from last year. So I think the over under was like super juiced, and everyone was on the over because it was only 65 for teams that both gave up and scored 45 last year. So I think dropping it a little bit to 63, USC against anyone I think could probably put up 40 if they could drop 27 in a week one. New team against LSU, not at home even now it's at home.
Hmm.
Vegas obviously a little bit away from home even though it's not far. Utah State should be able to score, I would think, at least 21-ish.
That's
So
what I'm thinking. Yeah.
even a 21-49 is 70
Yeah.
points. So I like the over.
Yeah, I'm thinking 48-21 might be even a line to look at, see if I can get like plus 1800 on it. But yeah, 48-20, I love that. Yeah, that's going to do it for college football. I have a few others that we want to go over real quick. Is that the Heisman talk? We kind of talked about it a few weeks back. So far after week one, I was really impressed with Cam Ward over at Miami. Just watching them dice up Florida and just him looking so nonchalant doing it while Mario Cristobal cooks up a beast of a defense over there over the last 2 years. It's been pretty impressive, and I think that they're going to eventually slide right on into the top eight, sometime in the next coming weeks. They look really, really impressive. So I am looking out for Miami. And then definitely Cam Ward. And then Quinn Ewers as well. I mean, Texas looked incredible in week one. They got to go and play Michigan here in week two. If he looks incredible in week two, he could be a favorite to be right up there in the Heisman.
Yeah, and I still love my boy Noah Fafita. He's plus
Yep.
4,000 still. And he went out there and diced. I mean, McMillan alone had 10 for 304 and four scores. So definitely keep an eye on him and Arizona as the season goes on.
Yep. So yeah, that's gonna do it for CFB. But kind of doing a little transition switch over to the NFL. We are stoked for week one of NFL. It's gonna be a fun
About
one.
time.
Unfortunately, the games aren't exactly what we were hoping for. It's not the most beautiful eye candy of a slate that you're ever gonna see with NFL. But we got some picks in here that definitely should find us some winners. So let's go through those. First game is the Eagles and the Packers. So far, just thinking Eagles money line versus the Packers.
Yeah, also don't love it, but they're
Yeah.
at home. And after ending the year, I think 7 out of 8 straight losses, uh, being at home with obviously Saquon now being on the team, Jahan Dotson, that trade happened since I think we last talked NFL. The Eagles defense got bolstered in the draft, so I think that they should come out and take care of business. I think it's also one of those things where everyone's high on the Packers after that start last year, or sorry, after the finish last year.
Yeah.
But again, they did start slow last year, and maybe it's just Jordan Love got his confidence and he'll keep it. I'm not sure, but I think Eagles at home, week one, money line's a safe play.
Yeah, I think I just like the Eagles O against the Packers D more than I like the Packers O against the Eagles D at this point. That's just the only thing that I'm like, both these teams I think are going to be good though.
Mhm.
Um, Second game, Browns and Cowboys. This is a bit of an interesting one because Cowboys obviously didn't do much in the offseason, and the Browns are what seems like pretty stacked now that they have Chubb back. So I'm laying Browns two and
Chubb's
a half. I'm laying
Yeah, I think
Browns
I
two and
think
a half.
Chubb's out the
Is he
Chubb's out the
still?
first four games, I think.
Okay. I thought
But
he
yeah,
was back.
either way, Cowboys can't stop the run, so I expect Jerome Ford to get in the end zone as a good player prop, or whoever's starting running back. I assume it's Jerome Ford.
Hmm.
I definitely could see it being a little bit of a lower scoring game. Like we were saying, the Cowboys lost everybody. I don't think that they're going to be any good. Their offensive line, I think, will be bottom five. Their running backs room, I think, is bottom five as well. And so with all those, losing Michael Gallup, losing Pollard, I don't really like CD barely got his money now. Like I don't think their
Yeah.
offense is going to be that good with just CD and then Fergie B Cooks. I don't think they're going to be that good. I could definitely see a defensive special team score in this game, so be on the lookout for that as well. With two defenses that are usually pretty good. Interested to see how the new defense goes with Mike Zimmer back there, but obviously Browns just won I think 11 or 12 games with five different quarterbacks. They're at home, and they had a very low scoring easy dub against the Bengals last year in Week One.
Yeah.
So I think the Browns go out there. I think they take care of business, get the job done.
Yeah.
Um, and that's only there's minus 1.5 now, and so I think that they could win by more than that if you want a little more juice.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take 2.5. I mean, might as well take a field goal in the NFL. And the Browns are solid. I mean, their defense is always going to come out and play well. If Dak is a little bit rattled, if the team's not on the same page with CD and everybody, then and we don't obviously have a great running game. So if any of that happens, there's a good chance that the Browns take this game handily. Then the next one is the Cardinals and the Bills. The Cardinals right now are 6.5 point dogs against the Bills away. I'm loving the Cardinals plus 6.5 in this game. The Bills just trade away all their weapons, so everybody's going to be brand new, fresh with Josh Allen. Now, obviously, it is Josh Allen, but I think that the Cardinals on offense, with having Kyler back, James Conner, they have a couple new wideouts that are really good, and they're getting a few wideouts back. I feel like they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, and 6.5 feels like a lot for an NFL game. That the Cardinals are going to be decent this year.
Yeah, definitely. That 6.5's been calling to me every time I look at it. I'm like, for some reason, it's like Cardinals 6.5. I like it.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like they're going to win this football game. It's not like I just like the 6.5. I think they might win it. I don't think James Cook's that good a running back. I don't think the Bills' offensive line is that good. I don't think that the Bills' wide receiver room is that good. Now, I do think Dalton Kincaid's going to step up. Keon Coleman, I think, is a great rookie, and they
Yeah,
got
for sure.
Curtis Samuel's a good like third go-to guy.
Hmm.
But I really don't think they'll be that good. I think it could be a little bit more on the lower scoring side. I think Kyler's going to be able to move around, run the ball pretty effectively, as is James Conner.
Yeah.
Um, I think it could be a lower scoring game, which I think as well helps that plus 6.5 the Cardinals. But I kind of feel like they're going to go out and get that win. I'd love to see Maserati Marv get in the end zone week one.
Yeah, that would be super cool to see Marv get in the end zone. Next game, we got the Bears and the Titans. Bears right now are getting a lot of coin and love from fans going into Tennessee, and it's worthy. Derrick
They're
Henry,
at home.
are they?
Yeah, they're in Chicago, but they're getting
Oh,
all the
okay.
love.
Yeah, they're getting a
Yeah.
lot of love. But anyways, I'm gonna take the Bears minus 2.5 against the Titans. I believe it's buying it down a little bit from 4.5 or something like that. But I think that the Bears are gonna win by field goal. It's going to be a close game. Obviously, they don't have Derrick Henry, but they got Tony Pollard. He should be able to fill a void decently. Now, that's not to say that Levis is going to be able to throw the ball that well. I do think that the Bears defense is going to be able to give them a lot of trouble with that. So it's going to come down to Pollard, I think, whether their offense gets going. But I love the Bears offense. I think with Caleb Williams, they're going to be incredibly good. They got a lot of weapons around him. We've seen what Caleb can do in the preseason a little bit, and I expect him to be able to turn up right away.
Yeah, I don't really have much of a lean for this one. I was thinking the Bears are going to win it at home week one. Obviously, huge change of scenery with the whole team.
Yeah.
You got Caleb's there, Rome's there, Keenan Allen's there, DeAndre Swift is there. Their defense is already pretty solid, and then obviously still having DJ Moore. But I think the Titans did a lot of small moves that were very similar. They still got Will Levis, like you said, they got Pollard and they have Tajay Spears, who I think they're going to probably end up starting. And then they went and got Calvin Ridley, and they got Traylon Burks still on the team. I know that, so it's like they're kind of in that same position with three decent receivers, a young quarterback, a decent running back, but nothing special. And then they added some pieces to the defense, so I think it'll be a close game. Uh, I don't really have much of a lean. All the money's coming on Chicago, which makes me lean plus 4.5 with the Titans. But I think I'll probably ride the Bears to win at home week one.
Right on. So yeah, a lot of love on the Bears. But yeah, then we got Panthers and Saints. That's pretty not very interesting game as well. Just going to take the under 41.5. Both those teams don't expect them to be good on offense. They're playing against NFL caliber defenses, and I think that it should stay under 41.
Yeah, I went to Carolina to watch the game last year, week one or two, I think, and it was like 17-13 with 10 points in the fourth. So I'll take under 41, even though it's very low. I just think these teams suck.
Yeah, fair. Then we got the Steelers and the Falcons. Not really picking a winner for that one. I believe it's in Atlanta. And it is Russ's first game, so I don't really know how to expect the Steelers to look. I know their defense is going to be really good, so I'm expecting this game to go under 42.5.
Yeah, I'm leaning on the Falcons to win this one at home. I think it'll be a good dub for them. Um, Going against Pittsburgh scares me. Obviously, I like Tomlin. I think honestly, two of the best plays for the week might be Kirk coming back, throwing a pick, Russ throwing a pick. Like honestly, just a pick for
Yeah.
each person might be better than the game itself.
True.
I'm gonna take the Falcons to win the game. But I think I'm kind of leaning on that low scoring, um, therefore close game kind of thing.
Yeah, right on. And then we got the Dolphins and the Jags. Right now, I don't know exactly how much the Dolphins are favored by, but I'm going to buy it down to 2.5. I think that the
Three and a
Dolphins,
half.
yeah, okay, so yeah, I think that the Dolphins are going to win this game by at least a field goal. I'm just kind of scared because it's game one. I'm just putting my faith in Mike McDaniel. I think that dude's an absolute genius and a wizard when it comes to calling plays and just putting X's and O's on paper and making that into a reality on the football field. And also with the speed they have on that team, I don't think that they should lose in the first week. So yeah, I'm liking the Dolphins -2.5 against the Jags.
Hmm. I was definitely leaning on Dolphins at home. I think they went 7-1 at home last year. Again, I watched all the money flood in on the Dolphins so far, so I'm kind of like, don't love it when all the money's on one team.
Yeah,
However, like you said, Tyreek Hill, Waddle, Mostert, A-Chain, like the speed that they have is incredible. Mike McDaniel, great with that. Jaguars lost Ridley. I don't know if that's the biggest, loss that they
yeah,
got, but obviously I think they got a little bit worse on that offensive side of the ball. Um, I'm thinking it'll be a good game. I'm still thinking I'm going to take Miami just because they're at home. Again, I think this is a game where um, you have two teams that have solid defenses with questionable quarterbacks. So I think an interception play for both of them could be a good play.
yeah. I agree. I feel like that could be a solid interception prop in that one. Then we got Texans and Colts. Obviously, that one's in Indy. I was talking to you a little bit about this earlier. I just think that Anthony Richardson late in this game is going to end up making a mistake. I think it's going to be a really good game up until that point. But I expect when that happens that CJ Stroud and the Texans will be able to take full advantage. And for that reason, I am taking them -2.5 against the Colts away.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go with the Texans money line. Don't feel great about it.
Yeah.
Indianapolis at home. Steichen's good. Interested to see how they bounce back. I think Jonathan Taylor's going to have a great game, so I'd take his over on rushing yards. Um, well, I do like the defense for Texans. Yeah, I'd still probably take his over on rushing yards. They got a good O line with the Colts, so yeah, that should be a fun one. Good division game to start the season. I'm going to take the Texans on the road.
Right on. Then we got Raiders and Chargers. Got a couple picks in that one that I'm loving. First thing is the Raiders. I love them +3.5. I love them money line. I just feel like the Chargers lost way too many weapons, and that Herbie's not. He's going to be able to get the ball out, and he's going to be able to find guys and probably throw for 280. Just because that's what Herbie does. But I don't think it's going to be enough to win them this game. I don't think they're going to have enough weapons behind him to be able to withstand the Raiders and that Raiders defense. If Max Crosby gets going, it's going to be a really rough game. But I am also expecting it to go over 40.5. 40.5 just seems really low for a Justin Herbert led team. Really doesn't matter. Like you could have three bums around him. Like I still feel like Herbie should put up 20 points or somewhere close to. And if that's the case, then the Raiders should have put up more than that and win this game. So I'm thinking over 40.5.
Yeah, I don't love the over under. I think it's kind of a weird line to be set at. Two teams that are both kind of unsure about what's actually going to happen this year.
Yeah.
Um, Minshew with the weapons that they have with the Raiders. I definitely like the +3, as well as like you said, the defense. Max Crosby up front. They added Christian Wilkins from the Dolphins, the stud. So the two of them are going to be dynamic. Excited to see how that goes. Herbie doesn't have anyone to really throw the ball to, like you said. Like Lad McConkey's the go-to. Maybe DJ Chark or Quentin
Quinston
Johnston.
Johnson. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
and I'm just like, yeah, they just don't have it. They don't have anyone. I think they'll probably be more so on the ground game.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what both teams I think are going to go to. Um, Interested to see how Zamir White does. If Gus Edwards gets more carries, J.K. Dobbins, Corum. I don't really know
True.
who's going to get the ball. It should be an interesting game. I'm just going to take the Raiders with the points.
Right on. And then we got the Broncos and the Seahawks. Man, this game is going to be another banger. It's in Seattle. Bo Nix getting his first start for the Broncos. I'm super pumped. I don't think that Seattle is a great team, so I think that it's a good opening week for him. And he has a little bit of experience playing in Seattle against Washington in that same facility. So I do think that he is going to have a little bit of the experience he needs to come in there and at least cover 6.5. So I'm going to take the Broncos +6.5 and then under 41.5 just because I really don't. like the Seahawks offense. And I do think that they'll probably get it done, but I think it'll probably be a really close game within a field goal, and both teams probably scoring under 20.
Yeah, I'm not really getting a good read on this one. I was kind of leaning on the Broncos with the points, but Seattle at home, Kenneth Walker should be healthy, DK, Jackson Smith, like
True.
I don't know. I'm leaning on Broncos with the points just because 6.5's
A lot.
seems like a
Yeah,
lot.
it's a
Even
lot.
though yeah, even though I think both these teams suck this year, I'm leaning that way.
Yeah, for sure. And then next is Commanders and the Bucks. Obviously, we've been kind of high on the Commanders, and not really changing here. Going to go ahead and take them outright money line against the Buccaneers here away. I just think that Jaden Daniels is going to be able to get it going. They got enough pieces to where their offense, as long as they can kind of click together, I'd imagine they've had enough time now to build a gel together in the offseason. And with Dan Quinn as their head coach, like they should be solid on defense. So I'm taking the Commanders outright, man. I think they got too many weapons on the offensive side, although they did just lose Jahan Dotson, which sucks, but it didn't look like he was going to get the ball too much anyways. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how they do this year. Obviously, I re-signed with the Niners. I was kind of hoping he'd go to Washington to just ride that Washington wave.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a fun game. They're getting 3.5, so definitely take it. Like you said, though, I do think they come out and they beat Tampa at home. I think that defense is going to be built up, and no one's really expecting it. So I think Baker throwing a pick could be a good play there. Interested to see how Eckler, Brian Robinson kind of bounce in the backfield. Obviously, Jaden Daniels is going to be running it, I think. But I'm expecting Terry to have a good bounce back year as well.
I'm expecting them to be able to open up the field for Jaden Daniels, man. They got Eckler back there. If they need to screen, pass it to him, let him run it, whatever it needs to be. Get Eckler to open the field up, get those playmakers in space. And I feel like that Jaden Daniels could have a pretty solid squad there. Then we got the Rams and the Lions, another game that's going to be another banger. Little rematch to the playoffs of last season. Rams plus 4.5 right now in Detroit. I'm loving it. And I just think that the Rams, with the veterans they have on the team, they have a lot of experience. They're getting a lot of guys back from injury. That a really solid draft. I feel like that the Rams are definitely 4.5 feels like a lot.
Yeah, I'm on the Rams. I like the Rams this year. I think they could go out and win the division. I think we talked about that. I think they could have 12 wins. I think the Lions will probably be right there. So this is a big game. Obviously, the Lions barely got it done in the playoffs, but they got it done. So this would be a little bit of a bounce back revenge game for the Rams. It is in Detroit, and Detroit obviously looked very good last year. Interested to see how Jahmyr Gibbs gets going. I think he could have another good year building off what he started last year. I just love Puka. Cooper Cup, I think, is going to have a
Yeah,
great year coming back. Kyron Williams is great, and I think both teams have top five offensive lines as well as quarterbacks that are both. I don't know if I'd say Jared Goff is elite, but I think he's a good quarterback, and I think Stafford's elite. So
yeah, I love that plus 4.5 for the Rams. I'm also kind of thinking about touching that under 50.5. 50.5 is a lot for an NFL game. And I know it is two of the better offenses with some of the better quarterbacks, better running backs in the league. So I don't know. I might go back and forth, but the under 50 does look a little bit appetizing for me. Then the last game of the season, or of the opening week, not of the not of the season. But the last game of the opening week, Jets and the 49ers on Monday Night Football. Right now, like in the Jets plus 4.5, I feel like the Niners are going to win this game by a field goal late, probably off a turnover of some sorts, and they just end up getting into field goal range and then punch it in with 0 seconds left on the clock, and that wins them the game. So yeah, liking Jets plus 4.5, but I still do think the Niners win by field goal.
yeah, I'm interested to see how this one goes. My initial reaction is Niners are going to go smack on. My actual play is going to be take the 4 points for the Jets because it's more than a field goal, so I'll take it. It's Aaron Rodgers' first game back, so you'd hope that he stays healthy. He's got a bolstered offensive line. I love Brees Hall. I think he's going to be Offensive Player of the Year. Adding Mike Williams and Garrett Wilson, obviously on offense, I think is going to be pretty good.
Massive.
Granted,
Yeah.
granted they're playing a great defense. On the other side, the Jets have a great defense. Hassan Reddick obviously still not playing, so that'll be a little bit of a downer. But I Ayuk just re-signed, so there's a little bit of that tension going on. Debo
True.
obviously has been hurt a lot in the last couple of years, especially late in the season. Kittle had this surgery on his shoulder. I don't know how great he'll be moving. And I think the Niners lost some of their defensive pieces. So we're very interested to see how this goes. Trent Williams just re-signed today with the Niners finally,
Yeah.
so they got him and Ayuk back, which is huge. Those are two where I was like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if I can go
Yeah.
all in on the Niners to win that division, knowing that if they keep everybody, I think they should be all right. I do think Ayuk, or even though Ayuk just resigned, I think Ayuk could still be on the move. If not, I definitely think Debo probably will be by the end of the year. But at least for this week, I think I'm going to take the Jets with the points, but I don't love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I like the Jets plus with the points, but I'm also thinking that the Niners win late with a field goal. So, yeah, Jets plus 4.5 to end the NFL slate. And yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for our first week of the NFL and second week of college football. Had a great weekend last weekend. So, if you guys are staying with us, make sure to keep riding. We're enjoying, getting back into things. Football season is always nice to come back to. So, yeah, look forward to getting back with you guys next week. And until then, we'll see you later. Peace.